Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. Thanks for coming on my podcast. I hope that you're doing fabulous. I'm inviting you and encouraging you that if this resonates and the messages are resonating, to please subscribe, share. Only if it resonates. I'm not going to force anybody to sign up. Anyway, so with that, we want to get started today talking more about the importance of our family office and family dynamics and how that applies to you. And so one of the conversations that I continue to have with other families that I'm working with and families that I have worked with is secrecy. This very tainted, very diminished energy that brings in so many issues to a family is secrecy, because families many times are based on keeping things from each other. And I'm going to encourage you all today to be very mindful of when you do that, when you're doing that, if you've done that, feeling that way with your partner, feeling that way with a lot of times triangles are formed in the families, and that creates where maybe the mom and one of the children aligns against the father and some of the other kids, or so it creates triangles, and these triangles are very unhealthy. But they're so common. I want to say that most families have at least one triangle, and it doesn't help the family to evolve in the expression of honesty and in the expression of conversation, because it's pitting a couple people against another person or another group, and in that energy of divide, there's that energy of conflict, right? So as much as you would like your family to have more peace or more peaceful conversations or more peaceful interactions, it almost makes it impossible, because trust has been broken, right? And how do we come out of that is by having conversations with your family members, really having family meetings where you can have those conversations. And I know that it could be very uncomfortable, it could be very hurtful, but I believe that it is very necessary to at least be able to hear everybody's point of view. And you would be so surprised, just because I've sat through so many of these in the past, you would be so surprised the perspective and the interpretation of what happened that created this conflict within the family, and how everybody interprets the situation differently, and how when you speak through that, and first of all, listening in this matter and these matters or in these conversations is very important, right? Is that everybody is prepared to listen and allow everybody to speak without interruption, right? And sometimes we do give maybe 10 minutes for each person to speak their mind, and we can start with that, because you don't want somebody to take over the whole time, and then by the time that it's the last person, like they get 2 words in and then that's it, okay, the meeting is over. Timing it, I feel that it's very important. So maybe it's a 2-hour meeting, right? And you give everybody 10 minutes, and then you go into explaining yourselves, right? So listening to what each person's concerns have been, or what has happened in the past, and be prepared that things are going to be said to you, about you, that you may not want to hear. And having an open mind and open heart to, this is how this person has interpreted your behavior or your actions in the past, right? And so when we're going through these moments of expression and listening and understanding, it begins to soften the tension and the buildup that has happened throughout the years, right? Because some of you may even have estranged relationships with one of your siblings or one of your kids or the spouses are divorced, whatever that may be. What's important though in these conversations is to understand that what is being pointed out for you may just be something that you were unaware that you were putting out. Sometimes we don't understand that not saying anything is worse than saying something, right? Cutoff is not a way to solve a situation or a problem. And a lot of times that silent treatment cuts. It's very painful for the person then who wants to hear what that person has to say, even if what that person has to say could be very hurtful, it could be very demeaning. It's important to be able to at least say something and not stay in silence, because the silence is leaving it open for everybody to make misjudgments on what is actually happening. I know that when working with families with smaller children, a lot of times when the parents were not being honest with the kids about what was actually happening within the family, when I would sit down and talk to the kids' story or iteration of what was happening was more tragic and more awful than what was really happening, just because in the not knowing, their mind went to the most detrimental, negative experience, thinking that one of their parents is going to die or somebody is sick. It's like, no, it's not like that at all. Like, where did you get that? Did you hear that from anybody? And they're like, no. But since they haven't told me, I'm thinking that it has to be terrible. And so that's why the invitation is being extended for you all to take this opportunity and sit down as a family and have this conversation or these conversations maybe once a week, once a month, in a place where you can all feel comfortable speaking up and speaking out. I'm always going to encourage no alcohol or no substances, just because everybody deserves you to be present and you deserve everybody to be present. And having those conscious, present conversations, honest with each other, being open, is going to build on so much trust that no matter how awful the situation in the future that you might be going through or somebody may be going through, you coming in from this energy of compassion and honesty and integrity and transparency is just going to help your family have such a beautiful dynamic. And whatever you decide to create through that dynamic, I know we talk a lot about business and family offices, but this can also be how you travel together and have your family trip next time, rather than everybody feeling like, oh, there we go again. She's in control, he's in control, here we go. Like, they do everything that they want, and I wanted to do this and I wanted to do that. And every time that we go on vacation, it's the same thing, right? And I hear this all the time. I'm sure you all hear this all the time. Stepping back and allowing everybody to have an opinion and that their opinion matters is also telling them that you trust and respect each other enough that whatever they're feeling, whatever they're going through, whatever their impression is of you or the impression of what happened, that it's being taken into consideration from a place of love, right? There's no judgment. There's no criticism, there's no gossip, nobody is going behind each other's back, there are no triangles. And really, this is the breakthrough of the triangles and the triangulation that happens particularly when kids are smaller and they're going through all of their different transitions, right? From elementary school to teenage years, to young adults, to actual adults, to college, to all of those different life stages. When you're having these conversations as adults, and you may still have some young ones, I'm not sure. Again, it depends on how many generations you want to pull into these conversations. But even the little ones, like if it's age appropriate to bring them into some of these conversations, also allows them very early on to be confident in their expression, right? And how great when we can have little ones being able to express how they feel and being able to express with the adults what's going on in their life, what is their concern. I know that for so many families, again, looking at the generations and the generational changes that we've all been witnessing and experiencing when we're seeing young kids, I'm talking about little ones, like sometimes babies, right? Toddlers with a cell phone or an iPad or just, disconnected, and already everybody is disconnected. And we are gathering for these conversations. Well, how can you expect this child that has been given an electronic since they're little to be able to come to the table with a conversation and express how they feel when they've been numbed and just receiving information without actually interacting? And so this is a great time to start to influence your family by bringing in conversations, by bringing in, tell me how you're doing, tell me what your month looks like, or tell me, what was your biggest win. Like, I love to start with something positive rather than starting with all the negative stuff or all the conflicts that we need to comb through. It's so important to bring in, what went well for you this month, what excited you, what did you do that was different, how are you, tell me a moment that you felt very proud of yourself this month. And I know that sounds like a very elementary conversation, but think about even you as an adult being asked, what did you do this last month that you were so proud of, right? What did you do to change somebody else's life? Or what did you do that changed your life, right? That you felt so good, so nourished, that your soul felt so nourished. And so the reason why I'm bringing all of this in today is because when there's lies, right, happening between the couple, and then there's all these little lies that become big lies being told within the siblings and the triangles, and not allowing anybody to defend themselves, then of course your family is in conflict, right? Your family is not thriving. Your family is struggling. And when we look at it from a place of wealth, right? Because now we can step in and bring it into money and abundance and the beautiful experiences that money buys us. Money, when we bring in the energy of abundance and expansion, it has to come from an energy of abundance. It has to come from an energy that holds a high frequency. And there's nothing high frequency about gossip. There's nothing high frequency about drama. There's nothing high frequency when we are speaking ill of those people in our family that we love, but we don't like, or we don't like what they've done. And so when we start to bring down all of these different walls that have been built out and been created throughout the years, and we can now start to see each other for the essence of who we really are without calling each other anything, right? The lazy, that one's shy, this one's too loud, that one is in chaos. Like, all of those conversations that you typically would have to name and label all of your family members. Rather than that, when you step back and you come from this place of just being in the energy of listening and paying attention and understanding where they may have seen that you were very controlling, or where they may have felt that you didn't like them so much, or where they may have felt or maybe feeling that you take sides without listening to all sides of the story. Not so long ago, I had a situation within my own family, and something had happened with one of the members of my family, and my initial reaction to the person that was contacting me and saying, no, because so-and-so said this and this, and they did that and that. And I was like, you need to hear their side of the story. Have you heard their side of the story? Are you just making this assessment on one side of the story? And they were like, yeah, because, they should know this, or they should. It's like, listen, go back and get the other side of the story. And then you and I can have a conversation if necessary. But I promise you, when you hear that person's side of the story, all of this is going to go away. There's going to be an explanation for exactly what happened that you're so upset about. And so when we bring that kind of interaction and dynamic into everything that we do, into every conversation, and listen, this can happen with investors. This can happen in business. This can happen with the people that you are interacting with, that you are transacting with, that they have this idea that you're doing something wrong or you're not doing something the way that they prefer. Well, let's get on a call. Let's sort this through. If the bank if the bank made an issue on one of your bank accounts, significant amount missing from your account, you're going to get on a phone call. You're not just going to dismiss it and pretend that it's not happening. The same applies to your family members. And so as we continue to evolve on these conversations and bringing in that energy of transparency and integrity, perhaps it may start with you and your partner having a conversation first, right? The adults first, the adult of the adults, but the adults, right? The hierarchy of the parents, to understand where you could be better or different before you actually sit with the kids. But if you feel like you're ready to everybody just jump in and be open and honest, then go ahead and do that. And the rule is that nobody is going to hold anybody accountable, or no one's going to hold anything against anybody for saying anything out loud. The idea is a cleansing is happening. And that's what we call it, the cleansing of the family. Just let's cleanse, right? Let's get rid of all of these secrets. Let's get rid of all of these negative transactions that are not good for you, right? Let's just let go of that. Let's be transparent. Let's be clean. And so with that, it's important that you bring in these conscious conversations before you actually start pulling people into your business and family office and even into investments. You want to be able to know who you're working with and who they are, and for them to share who they are with you, and for you to receive it with an open heart, and for them to receive you with an open heart as you share all about yourself as well. So I hope that this is helpful. I truly encourage you all to start some of these family meetings and see how beautiful your family will begin to evolve and expand, and how much abundance will be coming into your family business and family office, because now you're in an energy of abundance and not in the energy of lack and scarcity and conflict and negativity. So with that, I leave you today. I will see you soon. Have yourselves a beautiful day.